So in today's video, we're going to be looking at how you add and subtract fractions with both the same denominator and a different denominator. So the first thing we're going to do for a warm-up is to simplify these fractions. So if you pause the video and then we'll go through the answers together. So if you can remember from the last video, what we need to do is to find the highest common factor of both the top and bottom numbers. So in the first example, we've got 3 and 12. Now 3, as it's a prime number, I can't break that down into any other prime factors. 12 I can break down a little bit further. And I can see really clearly on this picture that the highest common factor is only on there, which is 3. So that means I'm going to divide the top and the bottom number by 3, which is going to give me 1/4. The next one, again, is a quarter. Then here I have 3/4, 1/3, 1/5. This one I could split into, well, if I broke it down, I could go 4/8, then into 2/4, and then into a half. And this one here, again, I could do it a similar way. Now I'll get 5/8. So now we're looking at adding fractions. Now when we add fractions that have the same denominator, remember the denominator is the bottom number, so we have 8 here. We don't do anything with the bottom number because we are still talking about 8s. So in this question, we're adding 3/8 to 2/8. And when we add those two together, we're going to end up with 5/8. So 3/8 plus 2/8 is 5/8. So like I say, the denominator, which is the bottom number, stays the same. You're just going to add that top number, which is your numerator, together. So there's some worded questions here to try, so pause the video and then we'll go through them together. So the first one is 2/8 plus 4/8 the same as 3/4? So let's add them together. Now remember that that bottom number, the denominator, is the same, so it's going to stay as an 8. 2 plus 4 is 6, and I can then simplify that into 3/4. So our answer would be yes. And then we'd put our sum that we've just done here and write that 3/4 is equivalent to 6/8. Liam wants to make a drink. 2/7 of the drink is water and 3/7 of the drink is squash. The rest of the drink is lemonade. What fraction of the drink is lemonade? So first things first, let's add up this. So our denominator is the same. 2 plus 3 is 5. So 5/7 of the drink is water and squash. We need to get to 7/7, or a whole, and the difference between these two numbers here is 2/7. Final question. Pat and Charlotte want to share their DVDs. Together they have 20 DVDs. They want to keep 8 DVDs each. What fraction of the DVDs could they give to the charity shop? So they both want to keep 8 out of 20. So let's add that together. So keep that bottom number the same. 8 plus 8 is 16. And now we're looking for the difference between 16 and 20. So if we were to do 20 take away 16, we would end up with 4. So they can donate 4/20 of their DVDs to the charity shop. If we were to simplify this further as a fraction, we could actually go down to 1/5. So 1/5 of their DVDs can get donated. Now looking at subtracting fractions then. So it's the exact same as what we were just doing. Because the denominator is a 6, we're still going to have a 6 over here as our bottom number. And then we're just going to do 3 take away 1. So I have 3 here, and if I take away one of them, that's going to leave me with 2. 2/6. And it's important to simplify your answer if you can, which we can. We can simplify that further into 1/3, or 1/3. Now there's some questions here for you to try, so pause the video and then we'll go through the answers together. Okay, so we're looking for the missing number that would go here. So 11/12 take away something equals a quarter. Well, first things first, we need to make this number, this denominator, 12, because we know that when we're subtracting or adding fractions, the denominator's going to stay the same. So this has been simplified. So to get this to 12, I need to times it by 3, which means I also need to times the top by 3. So that's going to give me 11/12 take away something equals 3/12. I know that this one here is going to be over 12, so now I'm just looking, what do I take away from 11 to get 3? And the answer there would be 8. So 8/12 goes here, 11/12 take away 8/12 is 3/12, which can then be simplified to 1/4. Lisa had a packet of 12 coloured pens. She lost 5 pens. What fraction of the original number of pens does she have left? Well, she's lost 5 of 12. So to get our whole number, which would be 12 out of 12, this is the sum we need to do. 12/12 take away 5/12, and that will give us 7/12. And we can't simplify that any further. Richard had a bag of 14 apples. He can't remember how many apples he gave to his sister. You know that he ate 2 of them, and he also remembers that he gave 4 apples to his brother. What fraction must he have given to his sister if all of the apples have been eaten? So he knows that he's eaten 2 of 14. And he knows that he gave 4 of 14 to his brother. So that's going to give us 6/14. So now we need to figure out how many he gave to his sister. So we're going to do 14/14, take away 6/14, which will give us 8/14, which we can simplify further into 4/7. So that doesn't mean that he only gave her 4 apples, he still gave her 8 apples, but as a fraction we can simplify it as 4/7 of the apples went to his sister. Again, pause the video here and have a go at these questions, and then we'll go through the answers together. So starting with our first one, we know that 15 is going to be our denominator, and 7 plus 5 is 12. So 12/15. And we can simplify that further if we think of the highest common factor that can go into 12 and 15, which is 3. So if we divide those numbers by 3, it will give us 4/5. Now we're looking for what we subtract from 9/10 to get 1/10, and it will be 8/10. Next along, we have 7/18 plus something equals 15/18. That one there is going to be 8/18. Then we have 19/20 take away 13/20. So 19 take away 13 is 6. And again, you can simplify this down into 3/10. Next, we're looking for what we add to 6/15 to get 14/15, which is going to be 8/15. And finally, what do we subtract 3/7 from to get 1/7? So we're going to do the reverse here, and we'll add these two numbers together to give us 4/7. So 4/7 take away 3/7 is 1/7. And what's important to note with these sums is where I've simplified them. So if I take this one, for example, if I had 9/10 take away 4/5, that would still give me 1/10. And the reason for that, we're going to talk about in just a second, is because 4/5 is equivalent to 8/10. So how do we add and subtract numbers with different denominators, which is that bottom number? Well, what we need to do is to think about our factors. We need to think about a number where both of the other numbers will go into it. So in this first example, we've got half, or 1/2, plus 1/5. So I need to make these bottom numbers the same. So if I write out my 2 times tables, for example, so let's go here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. And then if I write out my 5 times tables, we can see straight away that I have a number here where they are both multiples of those numbers. So I'm going to put a 10 on the bottom. So to get the 2 to become a 10, I've had to multiply by 5. And to get the 5 to become a 10, I've had to multiply by 2. So I now need to do that to my top numbers as well. So 1 times 5, and then 1 times 2. So that's now given me 5 tenths plus 2 tenths. And if I add that together, that will give me 7 tenths. And I can't simplify that one any further. So the next one is a quarter plus a third. So again, I'm going to write out my times tables. So 4, 8, 12, 16. I'm going to write out my 3 times tables now. And you'll have noticed that 12 is a number that is in both times tables. So I'm going to put 12 here. So to get the 4 to become a 12, I've had to times by 3. And to get this 3 to become a 12, I've had to times by 4. So 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4. And now 3 twelfths plus 4 twelfths is 7 twelfths. So I want you to pause the video here, and then we're going to go through all of those answers together. Okay, 1/5 take away 1/7. So we need to look for a number that is in both times tables, which would be 35. Okay, so for this top number, I've had to times it by 7. So that's going to be 7 35s or 35ths. And this other number, I've had to times it by 5. So that's going to be 5 over 35. So 7 take away 5 is 2. So 2 over 35. Okay, my next one along is 2/5 plus a third. And 15 is going to be my number that they both go into. For this top number, I've had to multiply that by 3 to get to 15, so that's going to become a 6. And this number here, I've had to multiply it by 5, so that's going to become 5, which will give me 11/15. Next one then is going to be 21. Okay, so this number here, or this fraction here, I've had to multiply by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. And this one here, I've had to multiply by 7. And 1 times 7 is 7. 9 take away 7 is 2. So 2 over 21. Then we are going to have 45 as our bottom number here. And for this first one here, I have to multiply it by 5. So 8 times 5 is 40. And this bottom number here, to get 5 to 45, I've had to multiply it by 9. And 2 times 9 is 18, which is going to give me 22 over 45. Then I've got 2 11ths plus 4 fifths, which is going to give me 55 as a bottom number. So I'm going to times this top number by 5, because that's what I've had to do with the bottom number. So 10 55. And then with this number, I've had to times it by 11. So 4 times 11 is 44. And if I add those two together, it's going to give me 54 over 55. So almost a whole. Okay, and for our final one, we've got 9 and a 10. So our bottom number is going to be 90. So I've had to times this side by 10. So 7 times 10 is 70. I've had to times this side by 9. So 3 times 9 is 27. And so that will give me 63 over 90. So now the final activity is going to be looking briefly at mixed number fractions. So on our first one, we have 4 and 2/3, and we're going to add to that 2 and 1/5. So the first thing we need to understand is that when we see this number here, this whole 4, that's telling us we have 4 lots of this. So 4 times 3 is 12. So we have 12/3 plus 2/3, which is 14/3. Now if we look at this side, we have 2 lots of 5, and 2 times 5 is 10. So we've got 10/5 plus 1/5, which gives us 11/5. So I've just got it into an improper fraction, and that means that the top number is bigger than the bottom number. Now I'm going to treat this like exactly how we've been doing the rest of them. Find a common denominator, a common bottom number, which in this case would be 15. Okay, so for this first fraction here, I've had to multiply the bottom by 5. So I now need to do 14 times 5, which is 70. And for this second fraction, I've had to multiply by 3, and 11 times 3 is 33. Then add that together. So that's an improper fraction, but I need to give it as a mixed number fraction. So now I just need to do a reverse of what we did at the start. So how many times does 15 go into 103? And you can write out your multiples if you want. So if I write my multiples of 15 out here, just so you can see it as a visual. Okay, I can see that 15 will go into 103, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And the difference between 103 and 90 is 13. Okay, so now I want you to pause the video and try the last two by yourself. Okay, let's do the first one, the second one then together. So 2/7 and 5/6, and our common denominator is going to be 42 on this one. So on our first fraction, we've had to multiply by 6. And our second fraction, we've had to multiply by 7. If I add those two together, it's going to give me 47 over 42. So 42 42s is a whole, and the difference between 47 and 42 is 5. So that's that one. And our final one, 5 1/6 plus 2/4. So what we're going to do then is we want 5 lots of 6, which is 30. So that gives us 36 plus 1/6, which is 31/6. And then we want 2 lots of 4, which is 8. So 8 4s plus the 1 4 to give us 9 4s. And now treat it exactly like we do the other ones. So find a common denominator, which will be 12. So the first fraction, we're going to have to times that by 2. And the second fraction, we're going to times that by 3. Then we're going to add that number together. Okay, and now we're going to convert it back to a mixed number. So let's write our 12 times tables out so we can see them. Okay, so 12 will go into 89, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and it's going to give us 5 left over, so 7 and 5/12.